Hey guys, James Wilson Taylor here for Rock Sound. It's the latest of our video calls. We are chatting to everybody while we're still kind of at home at the minute, and I'm delighted to say from Trash Boat, Tobi is on the line. How are you, man?
Blessed, my guy, doing wonderful with my squeaky chair that's probably going to dominate the interview sound.
Hey,
Make
there's
sure I
been
get comfortable.
far worse sounds in the back of people's homes through these calls. The squeaky chair will take that. We've had
Squeaky
building
chair,
works, we've had dogs. It's all good.
you might get a bit of traffic as well. There
A
it
little
is.
bit, just a little bit. Just drop
A
it
little
in,
bit of
pepper
traffic.
it in here and there, here and there. Nice to catch up with you, man. Last time I saw you, of course, was at the Download Pilot Festival. We kind of caught up before your set. So
hmm
first things first, how was that big return to the live stage for you guys? I know you were hyped for it.
I mean, it's a silly question, really, isn't it? Like, there's only
Was it
one.
fun?
Yeah, like was it a formative experience that was 2 years in the making amidst a horrible pandemic that has paused the entire industry and completely taken the soul and the function out of what I want to do with my entire life? Yeah, it was great. It was phenomenal. I felt like I was like 2 minutes away from set all day. I was just buzzing, and I had a great time on and off stage. It was perfect.
It was a lovely put together weekend actually, and it's just nice to see that hopefully live music is kind of moving in that right direction. But that was just such a great first step, and I can imagine, as I asked you beforehand, the idea of finally getting to play those songs in front of a crowd, was it how was the I mean, obviously a positive reaction. I saw the reactions from the crowd in general, but like, were there any moments in particular with that new stuff where you're like, oh, didn't maybe see that bit going off, didn't see that playing that out? How was it? I guess finally getting them out there.
Yeah, we only had three songs out at that time, and we opened with Silence is Golden, which that's just a great kickoff tune, isn't it? And you've got that really, really heavy breakdown at the end to get people nice and warmed up. He's So Good probably pops off the most out of all of them. My favorite, like Don't You Feel Amazing, is like my favorite song that we've ever written. But we played that last. So there was like a small handful of people that are like, "Hey, you've already played Strangers, so I'm gonna go." But like Don't You Feel Amazing is my favorite song that we've ever written, and yeah, I mean all three of those songs got more of a reaction than I could ever hope for. So
Yeah, that's exciting. That's good to hear, man. And I'm glad you mentioned Silence is Golden. That's kind of the place I want to kick this off, really, is because just seeing the reaction to that and the build for it among the audience has been really, really nice. What a kind of great kickoff moment, really, for this era, and particularly for that for that set, like you say. Just tell me a little bit, I guess, about that track in particular. Really, when did it sort of begin to form around the album sessions, and why you wanted it to be a single as well, I suppose.
well, Silence is Golden was one of the biggest, like what I call Frankenstein songs, in that it was just made up of parts that were written completely separately, and it's so different from what it was when we first initially had the idea. And also there with the ending, like that big 7/8 breakdown was going to be something completely different. It was gonna not even be a full instrumental. It was going to be just like an electronic drum beat with a kind of, like the time is running out Muse bass tone, like that. It was just kind of, it was going to be
Yeah.
that same 7/8 thing, but it was just going to be like that, like really stripped back, really kind of just industrial and sinister. And that was one of the biggest things where, like, the guy that we were working with who was producing it, and he was like, saying, "Oh, we should do this, we should do this." We listened to him a lot, but we also didn't listen to him a bunch, and we went with our gut. And one of the things where we didn't listen to him was putting that breakdown back in. We were like, we got to have that breakdown. It's massive. Like, when I listened to the version with the breakdown, it made me feel more feelings than the other one. So I was like, we got to keep it.
It's a tough job to tell you boys not to put a breakdown in a song. That's a difficult job. He's not going to get too far with that, is he?
We've never even really done a breakdown like that. Like, that's just a straight up breakdown. Like, we
Oh
usually
yeah.
do kind of post hardcore riffy driven stuff, but this it's just straight up a beat down, which we've never done before.
Sounds cool though. Works
Yeah.
nicely. Worked
Yeah.
nicely. And works
Nice
well
and
live too.
it's 7/8, so we sound really, really musically smart as well, don't we?
You want to show off a little bit of musical intelligence there too,
Shave off
always.
one beat in the bar, you just look like a fucking virtuoso, don't you?
That's it. Gods among men, right there. And since that's all come out as well, one of the more recent cuts we got from the record is Bad Entertainment with, of course, Milky Way from Wargasm on there as well, which is really interesting little collab. Exciting new act. Again, they were at the Download pilot, went down to Storm. It's nice to see them building and having a bit of following built as well. Talk to me a little bit about working with them and how that collaboration came to be, I suppose.
We actually originally were throwing the idea around of getting Milkie to be a feature on a track, but originally it was going to be Silence is Golden. And I wanted her to do like one of the verses. But I honestly, like, I've told the story like 3 or 4 times now, and I still can't remember exactly why that didn't materialize. I don't know whether the message never got to her or whether we never decided to pull the trigger on it. I don't know, but we were like, hey, Milkie would fit really, really well on this song. And then all of a sudden it was like a week before the release date, and we were like, oh, whatever, let's just put it out. And then we knew we still really wanted Milkie on something, because she's just a fucking superstar in the making, isn't she? And she's so good. And she just had the right energy for several sections, because she's very rock and like very kind of heavy metal infused rock. And that's kind of what we're doing. And we just saw her fitting on so many bits. And then there was that bit in Bad Entertainment that was just basically like a guitar solo. And we were like, she would crush that bit. And honestly, I think she may have absolutely annihilated Silence is Golden and made it the best song ever, but that bit in Bad Entertainment is perfect. She sent that song into the stratosphere. Like, it's such a good feature. There's only 2 features on the album, but it elevated that song from being like, yeah, I really like this song, to it being in my top 3 on the album.
Man, that's exciting to hear. No, it's always nice when that works out, particularly when it's, you're supporting the kind of, like I say, they're right at the start of their career. It's kind of interesting seeing how many people in the industry have really got behind them already, and other bands who are just excited to work with an artist like that. It's really cool.
They've sent me some of their newer stuff as well, like the stuff they're working on in the studio. And I'm telling you, these guys are like the UK's answer to Baby Metal.
Oh, wow.
Like, they're
They're
phenomenal. Like, it's so good.
Man, no, it's exciting. It's exciting to see where that one goes next, man. Absolutely. And like you say, really nice addition to the album there as a whole. And I want to mention with the record, we talked a little bit last time about working processes. Everyone's working process has been at least a little bit different over the last year. And, whether that's times we can get in a room together or times when it has to be remote writing or remote recording or whatever, everyone's kind of had to adapt it to certain degrees over the last kind of 12 months. I wonder, moving forward, what were the kind of positives you took out of that? It is a different working environment, that's inevitable, but what were the kind of positives you took from that? You thought, what, in the future, even when everything is back to some semblance of normal, you learned something from working in that particular way?
Yeah, I mean, the actual method of writing, like over Zoom and whatnot, never ever gonna go back to that. I don't think.
Fair enough.
It was horrible, but the thing is, the kind of stylistic switch up, like the evolution of the type of music that we were writing and the influences that we were taking, and like the growth of the band's sound, is going to be carried forward in a massive way. But it's going to be carried forward with an actual writing process, and us being in person and not having to do it in like a couple months during lockdown and having more than 2 weeks in a studio. You know what I mean? So like, we've found this new element to our style that we just love, because it feels so honest and so raw. And we wrote so many of those songs just really, really quickly and from the gut. But even though we had a good time doing it, there was a lot of time pressure, and there was a lot of, just availability pressure. We couldn't see each other, we couldn't be in person. So there were all of these roadblocks, all of these things holding us back from having the smoothest writing experience ever. And we still managed to create an album that I think is like our best ever, and generally very, very good. So going forward, we're going to have all of that confidence and all of that knowledge and passion when it comes to writing, but just with more time and less restrictions.
Yeah, it's nice to see how hyped up you've been about this record in particular, and like you say, feeling like it's your best work to date, and really, really excited to get it out there for the people. I wonder, just to step back, I guess, a little bit, because Crown Shyness was a bit of a moment for you guys. It really did feel like a step up kind of moment, particularly in the shows you were playing and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of opportunities that were coming for you. Looking back then, what were the things that you looked at that record and went, right, we learned something there. We want to change this for the new record. We want to take this element and push it forward. We want to take this element and maybe try something completely opposite to that. What were the kind of learnings going into it? The reactions, I guess, against Crown Shyness as you went to this new record?
I mean, yeah, a lot of people fall in love with specific albums. They fall in love with certain sounds, and when you write something that doesn't sound like what you've written before, it's just an affront to their passion that they have for your current writings. Like, I love Crown Shyness. We're still going to play Crown Shyness live, obviously during this album campaign when we're doing live streams and when we're talking about stuff. It's going to be all new album because, of course, like we're not going to have 4 new songs and get given a set for a live stream. It's like, hey, you can play 4 songs. It's like, oh, we're going to play a bunch of old stuff. It's like, no, we're going to play our new stuff for now, and then once the album's out, we can then incorporate it into the wider tapestry that is Trash Boat. But I mean, when we were writing Crown Shyness, it was very much a continuation and a refining of our first LP. It's like, okay, well, we did this with our first LP. How can we do that again, but just make it like a bit better? And I think there was an element of us wanting to actively avoid doing that again. I know that's going to upset a lot of people, and it wouldn't have been a bad move. Like if we'd have gone, hey, let's look at Crown Shyness and let's just make it an even better Crown Shyness, we probably would have come out with like a really, really good post-hardcore, melodic hardcore, pop punky album. And I'm sure there would have been a lot of bangers on there, but we just decided not to. I don't know. We wanted to create something that was just exciting and new, and that was just the energy. Like we wanted to follow. It was unanimous. We just wanted to follow a different vibe during the creative process. We were still a lot of the instrumentals that we had were written in that kind of Crown Shyness era when we were considering writing new stuff. So there were a lot of ideas that came from the Crown Shyness mindset, but just everything changed in the month up to the studio, and then the actual 2 weeks in the studio. And we weren't sort of hacking away at something that we felt was a lost cause. It like what we were doing felt natural, and it felt like we're just making sounds that we've loved more than anything else. And we didn't want to be like, oh, but this doesn't sound like Crown Shyness, and Crown Shyness was a really successful album for us. It's like, I don't want to recreate a sound just because it was successful for us. Like I want to be in the moment and be like, what feels and sounds good? What makes me feel feelings when I track it? What makes me feel feelings when I listen back? That was our only guiding principle for writing this album. And yeah, I mean, for the people that love Crown Shyness, it's still there, and Nothing I Write You, it's still there. Whenever we play headline sets, we've got like a whole hour. There will be songs from everything in there, or an hour and a half, whatever it is. But yeah, it was just a bit different. We picked it up and ran in a different direction.
Yeah, that's what I always, just as a fan, that's what I always want to see bands do, and yourselves included. You want to see them try new things, and living in the moment thing is very, very important. I feel you want to capture a moment in time for a band or an artist, and then kind of see what's working for them then. And if that means trying new styles, that means trying new styles. It's not radically new as well. It still very much sounds like you as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
Well, it separates the people who are just in it for the album and not in it for the artist. Because at the end of the day, if you respect an artist and you're a fan of the artist, and almost to an extent, no matter what they write, you're going to like it because it's what they've written. But the people, and obviously there have been a few people complaining like, oh, I miss their old sound and blah, blah. It's like, you like the album. You like the album, not the artist. And that's fair enough. I was that guy. When Your Demise started singing, and when Stick to Your Guns started singing loads, and when I was like an 18-year-old hardcore kid that was just getting bummed out that hardcore bands weren't releasing their 5th album of just straight up hardcore riffs, and they were deciding to branch out a little bit and do some singing or put in some like choruses or whatever. I was that kid that was typing out on YouTube just like, this is such a sellout move, man. Oh my god, I can never rep my massive back print shirt with a crowd shot on it again. Like, oh god, I literally was that kid. That's what I
really painting an image there, Toby. That's great.
And no one could have told me anything when I was that age, because those albums meant so much to me, and those sounds meant so much to me. And I would just be like, okay, whatever. I'd stop listening, and then I'd wait for a band to release something that I liked. Fair enough. But after growing up a little bit, and after sort of being like, okay, well, I'll give these albums a listen, it's like, oh, actually there's a lot of development here, and this is the best stuff they've ever written. And I wish I was riding this train when they released it, instead of like 5 years later when you know, they're not touring this album anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's
sure.
loads of examples of bands like that from when I was a kid. And yeah, at the time you can't be told anything because you're a kid and your emotions are high. But now I just a bit different.
Yeah, no, it's a good headspace to be in for sure, and it begs the question of kind of what's coming next. And I've spoken to every artist over the last year, really, have kind of found themselves in a position like you guys, where yeah, records there, records ready to go, but until hopefully very soon, tour's been off the table. So people have just kind of been thinking, oh, do I want to play around with some more new ideas? Do I want to see where this goes a little bit next? Is that something you guys have been talking about even before this record drops? You know, what kind of might come after this?
100%. I mean, I'm trying to, well, we as a band are trying to not fall into that classic, like rock, pop, whatever you want to call it, structure of release an album, tour it for 18 months, then start writing a new album. Like, hip hop is arguably the most successful genre of music in the entire world, and some of those guys don't even release albums. They just release singles and then another single with a feature, and then maybe like a 3 track with a few features on it, and then another single. And it's like, it doesn't matter that they're not releasing albums, they're releasing bangers, bottom line. So we're going to tour this album. We might write another album, we might write just more singles, but the whole point is we're going to keep writing, and we're going to write immediately. We're not going to be like, oh, we're creatively done, we can just tour this album for a little bit and then we'll start writing, like, you know, in a year's time once we've toured it a little bit. No, 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 no. We're writing as we speak. We're sending each other ideas, like musings, you know, what's the word, like aesthetic ideas, like just beyond sonic stuff. You know, like what kind of avenues are we going to be moving into visually and conceptually and blah blah blah. Like, it's a constant conversation.
Man, that's really exciting to hear, man. I'm excited to see where it goes next, particularly given kind of what you guys have achieved on this record that's about to drop, of course. And last thing I'll kind of leave you with really is, like I say, please God, shows are coming. We know shows, we are hoping, we're so hopeful. It feels close that it might be coming. And I guess you must have, again, ideas coming out of your ears at this point, ready to hit that stage again, right?
We've got a lot of tours booked, support and headline. Obviously, we've got that headline tour in October,
Yeah.
which, you know, I haven't bought a bunch of tickets for tours that I want to go to. So I can understand why there's obviously going to be a large amount of people that are like, I'm not going to buy tickets for this tour because I don't even know if this show is going to happen. I don't want to be caught with however much the ticket is out of my wallet or my account. But all I can say is this October tour, you know, like any other band, in our minds it's happening until it's not. Until someone drops down the hammer that just says, yeah, no, the show isn't happening. These shows are happening. And yeah, I don't know how to really express it any more than that. It's like they're happening until they don't. And that's true of any tour at the moment. But yeah, we've got offers coming in. We've just booked in something for in the US next year, which is just, it's going to be the best tour ever. I'm so glad. It was one of those tours where there was just a part of my mind where I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to get that offer, you know. Ooh. And then all of a sudden we got the email and we were just like, yep, accept immediately. Thank you very much. Love it. Booked in. Fantastic. So we got a lot coming up.
Beautiful, man. It's really exciting, dude. Well, I mean, best of luck with everything. Fingers crossed we do get to see you on those stages. I'm keeping hopeful. I really am. And congrats on the record again, man. We'll look forward to chatting to you again soon. All right.
Heck yes. Appreciate it, man.
Good to see you, man. All right. Toby, everybody.